Good morning, everyone, and greetings to you. I'm thankful for the chance to meet with you by video this morning as I needed to be out of town. And I'm thankful for Pam and her leadership of the service along with the worship planning team. They have a great service planned for you all this morning as we celebrate all that God has done among us in the past year. And so each January, I like to have a town hall type meeting and a time for us to celebrate what God has done. Also sort of a State of the Union opportunity for me as well to share with you during this time. And so there are a lot of things that we have to celebrate from 2020 in spite of it being a very difficult year and a year of many challenges. So this morning, I think you will be surprised and amazed to hear all the things that happened in spite of our not being able to have in-person worship for several months in the past year. What a year it has been. I looked back over my calendar and I saw that in January and February of last year, it was full of appointments and meetings with ministry teams. And then we got into March. And on March 12th, we received a notice from our bishop in the Holston Conference that we were not to meet in person for 2 weeks, and then it became until further notice. And so we have had to scramble and learn lots of new skills, new technology, new ways of doing things. And like I said, it has been a challenge. It's also had its disappointments. To not be able to have a full Easter service in person was difficult. At Christmas time, it felt odd not to be able to have our annual Christmas choir cantata. And so there have been things that we truly missed and hope that we can do again soon. One of the most important things that we had planned was we had a group of 5 young people who had been in confirmation class for 2 years. And they were to be confirmed and some of them baptized, along with a few adults who wanted to be baptized at the end of March, and that didn't get to happen. So our plan is in the spring, when it gets warm enough, to have those baptisms and confirmations, and that's something I'm truly looking forward to. So another thing that's been difficult to bear has been when we have lost members of our community. And in 2020, there were 6 persons that we lost, and we didn't get to properly have funerals and times of remembrance together for the lives of those people. And so I'm hoping that we will be able to do that at some point as well. Precious members of our congregation, I want to commend you all because you have been so very gracious through this whole process. Your patience has amazed me. I'm sure that at times you must have felt like you were in a pinball machine when we were sending out notices every week. We'll be open in person, or we won't be open, or we'll be outside in the parking lot, or from week to week. I never imagined we would be sending out notices just to let you know how we are going to worship that week. It's been a little bit easier in the past couple months as the local congregation has been given the authority to decide those things. We have had an excellent COVID planning and protocol team who have met often, and when the numbers surge in our community, they have met, they have emailed, and in June went through a lot of steps of preparation so that we could come back in the sanctuary in some form. In fact, the document we were given for safely reopening the church was 29 pages. So very thankful for that group of people who have worked hard to try and keep our church family safe as we gather and when we gather. We've also had to negotiate how small groups could meet and how we could have Jack and Jill continue to meet in the facility. And those have taken some time. And you all have graciously given them your time. And I'm so very thankful for this church family. As I said, we had to learn new forms and new paperwork and new ways of being together. And it's a challenge. I mean, maybe you'd like to try and tell Roland, our wonderful greeter and usher, not to greet everyone. That's been so difficult, not to get close to them and say hello. So we've all had to learn new habits. But through it all, your love for your church and for the Lord has really shined through. Perhaps this year, one thing that we have learned is just how strong we are as a faith community, how deep those roots go in our covenant with God and with one another. And I've been amazed by your willingness to adapt to things, for your diligence in finding new ways to serve and be the church, and again, your patience. And I want to thank you. In the midst of all this adversity, there's much to celebrate. We have continued to take in new members this past year, and we have leaders in our congregation who have kept the local food bank operating. Almost all of our committees and ministry teams have continued to meet by Zoom or other ways and to be active. And so I look forward to hearing their reports this morning. You'll hear from different individuals representing a group in the church and what they have to celebrate that God did through them and through the life of our church this past year. So we praise God and thank Him for upholding us and keeping us together while we've had to be apart. And we know that He will lead us into the future that He has for us if we will but ask Him. And so this morning, sit back and enjoy and thank God when you hear the celebrations that are shared with you. And in closing, I have just a request of you that I sent out last May, and I asked a couple questions of you, and I'd like to ask you to continue to consider these questions. Will we continue to pray for our church as we move into the near future? What are the essential elements of what it means to be a church? And how can we live those out in the midst of the challenges that we will continue to face, at least for the next few months? How can we be the church? What is the core of what the church is? How can we continue to be a place of hope for others, a place of healing, and a spiritual home? How can we do that? Those are things I'd like to ask you to consider and take some time to ponder and think on. And as always, your prayers mean so much to our church. So let's, with thankful hearts, hear and celebrate, hear from these people, and celebrate what God has done. And I wish God's blessings to you all. Thank you.